Hello and welcome back to The Grade Cricketer. Just Pezza solo tonight. Higos has been waylaid with something far more important than this here digital venture, which goes out into the ether, is quickly forgotten, apart from a couple of comments that might just lodge in the mind for a little bit of time, which you'll speak to your therapist about, but that's neither here nor there. What I'm trying to say is Higos can't be here tonight, so Pezza has you have Pezza. It won't go for as long, and we'll all miss Higos for it. Now, what happened today in this here Test cricket fixture? Day 4, West Indies finish 3 for 192 of 62 overs. No one gives a fuck about that. They need 306 runs tomorrow. It doesn't matter. It's going to be over. I say that with a slight bit of trepidation because Nathan Lyon apparently bowls 2 straight, according to the commentators. I reckon he has half a clue about what he's doing. The day today, ladies and gentlemen, was about Craig Brathwaite. 101 runs, I want to say. Undefeated, red, West Indies captain, captain's knock. An excellent 100 in all the circumstances, one that he'll always remember. Blah, blah, blah. Dropped his bat when celebrating. And I just wonder, aesthetically speaking, which is the only kind of element that matters in cricket, I just wonder whether it kind of ruins the entire innings. An innings of grit, of determination, of seeing off some of the great Australian bowlers. I'm not going to say it's a hostile Perth wicket. I'm not going to do that, but I want to, just to kind of build a narrative around it. But as he's completing his run, as he goes to make his leap, his enormous leap to celebrate his 100, his bat slips out of his hand. And then as that happens, he completes his run, or so you think, and he goes to retrieve his bat, at which point any Australian who's ever played grade cricket said, run him out, as I did, to the screen, and sort of frightened my son sitting next to me. And they tried to do that, but he made it back in time. But it just kind of ruined the rhythm of the entire sequence. And yeah, he may have batted for 3-4 hours in a stodgy manner, repelling Australia, allowing his country to dream of staving off Australian victory and recording a famous draw. Yes, he may have done that. Yes, he may have kind of amalgamated, alchemized the entirety of his skill, both physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, built throughout his childhood, to put together perhaps one of his greatest ever Test innings. An innings that he'll tell his grandchildren about, they'll tell theirs about, so it'll last generations. And across the globe as well, as people kind of migrate different places due to climate change. But he fucked up his celebration. And that's a shame. That's a shame how it can all come undone. You know, they say 10 years hard work, overnight success. 10 years hard work, fuck up your celebration. Doesn't quite roll off the tongue, but something worth noting. What do we have to say about today? It was a gritty 4th day aesthetic, ladies and gentlemen, wasn't it? This is one of those days where it's flat, it's hard to get a wicket. It's too soon for Australia to win, but it's too far away for them to lose. You get a couple of poles and then it speeds up a little bit. It's never in doubt except for that nagging thing in the back of your mind where you're like, Australia can be impotent in the 4th innings, cricket-wise. The day started with some more serious news. I mean, it started the night before, really, around news of Ricky Ponting's heart scare. Great to see him on the ground early in the morning. He made wonderful comments about the importance of speaking up, particularly for guys his age who don't tend to do so when they have any health issues. Ponting's obviously been close to a number of his friends who passed away, some of whom had heart issues himself. So I thought it was, it's not really a pun, but it did warm the heart to hear how much help he received immediately from Justin Langer, from the Australian team doctor, from head of 7 cricket Chris Jones, and he's back here shiny and new, he said, and commentating up a storm. So all the best wishes to Punter, and you don't like hearing any of that sort of shit, but he obviously dealt with it well. Early parts of the day is getting into some serious cricket shit, but Alzari Joseph, seriously fiery spell, good gear, cranked it up. Marnus was hurried up a little bit. Marnus was out, but it was a no ball, so was he? Purring with pace, Alzari Joseph. And I still liked, though, that as the commentators realised that the Windies were, as they say in AFL, up and about, not just up or just about, but up and about. It's kind of like getting in and around someone in a circle. Punter still managed to say, kind of side-mouthing as the camera focused in on Jaden Seals, well, we haven't heard from these blokes for 2 days. Sometimes the guys in the box They still want to be out there, and I feel fucking safe with that. I don't know about you. I'm kind of talking back to no one here, and obviously feels normal. Now, what else are we talking about? Look, still great fire from the Windies, but they gave plenty away, didn't they? You know, for every bumper, for every 145 clicks, for everyone that jammed into the gloves, there was still just something on the legs there, wasn't there? There's something on the pads to flick away, and that's what Marnus did, bring up another 100. Will we remember that 100 in a couple of days' time? No. It says more about our society, but it's fucking numbers against names. It's stats. It's things that Marnus is amassing, and he's just on his journey, and we like it. He's basically been the star all day, actually. I still, you know, if I'm going to bring him down a peg, which is my right as an Australian, because that's how we deal with success and compliments generally, whether it's yourself or others. A lot of Marnus-Smith comparisons going on. Smith 29 tons, Marnus 9. So just relax. A little bit of work for Marnus to do there. He'll probably do it. Now, more important work coming out of cricket. Some of the content that the commentators pop up from day to day is important to acknowledge. Mitch Johnson, I think yesterday, may have been on Triple M discussing playing indoor cricket, which I think is cause for concern. I think it's cause for concern in the annals of Australian cricket. I'm concerned about that older generation. I know Mitch Johnson actually straddles both generations a little bit. You're not saying he's in the golden generation at all, but he was knocking on the door a little bit just towards the end of it. But he was playing indoor cricket, and he cranked it up as well when someone asked for a rebowl or some fucking nonsense shit. I just thought that was worth noting because it's about understanding the entire experience of Australian cricket when we're playing a test match and winning as we are. Other noteworthy things, ladies and gentlemen, I'll continue to address you like that as though I'm some I don't know, some kind of train announcer. There was a moment there where Cameron Green cranked it up, and Mitch Starc ran around to take a catch, a tough chance, I would say. And the way you judge a tough chance is if you think, if they catch that, people will be lauding that catch. They would have with this catch, but he dropped it in his big buckets. And Cameron Green slammed the ground hard with that big old bear paw of his. And it was great to see a bit of motion out of Greenie. Sound like I just said motion there. I said emotion, but also motion. Kind of both work. And JL went on afterwards to say, yeah, he can actually get angry in the nets. And when he gets angry, he bowls quickly, but his technique actually suffers, and that's when he gets stress fractures in his back. So we've got this scenario where he actually must be emotionless to keep his back working. That's fucking sports science these days. I just thought it was interesting from an alpha perspective as well. We just got a little glimpse into the real Cameron Green. Then Cameron Green's still the new kid on the block. Obviously, he's big. Everyone's going to defer to him. He's getting heaps of Red Bull as well and sharing that around. Will he end up at Rajasthan Royals? And but he got angry at Kratz dropping that catch. And Kratz, 300 poles, fair few rungs higher in the alpha stakes, or at least in the superiority stakes. But Greenie just gave us a little insight there, and I kind of like it. Anyway, Craig Brathwaite went through 5,000 test runs. Well done. Little note on Alex Carey, one of the great TFCs so far. Look that up, whatever that means. What else were we to say? West Indies openers are good. Fourth day aesthetic. They feel a bit too all out to me. Pat Cummins was off. That didn't feel good for me from a safety fatherhood perspective. It felt better when he came back on, but they're worried about his quad. I suspect that Australia's bowling will be far more venomous or penetrative with the number one test bowler back in the side. Yep, that's right. But I'm not going to confess to any fears about this game or West Indies seeing this out or Australia making it hard for themselves. To be fair, Hazelwood bowled extremely well. He was bowling straight, setting a little leg side field there. I thought he had it going reverse a bit. Commentators didn't pick that up, so he probably didn't have it going reverse. But I just want to say that. Did he have it going Irish? And I thought he was a pick today. It's incredible how many people want to say that Nathan Lyon needs to just get it outside off stump as though he's never heard that in his life. I think it kind of ignores the role that he plays, particularly when it's all about keeping the fast bowlers fresh. He bowls stump to stump a little bit so that he can tie a batsman down and allow his quicks to rest. And he occasionally gets it outside off stump and does a bit of damage. People want to see him do it more. People want to see guys declare fucking early as well, just because they want something to happen. They want to feel something. That's the phenomenon that's going on there. I think leave Gary alone. Australia, once again, they're very good for a couple of ordinary reviews. That'll hurt them later. Now they've only got one left because they just want to feel something as well. And yeah, just finally, once again, Craig Brathwaite undid the entirety of his good work by dropping his bat in celebration. Now, I have put the question out for a couple of ASKTGCs. Yes, we all miss Higgos. I understand that. I miss him greatly too. Let's see what people are saying. Let's just jump up the mentions here. Jump up the mentions, he says. Now, doesn't it already feel like a loss for Australia since the test has gone to the 5th day, says Varun. No, not at all. You're obviously new to the channel. Sean Dyche writes, G'day, Sean. The only thing that matters is the Ashes. It's coming home. 5-0 fuck off and an England flag. That feels like something Sean Dyche would say. A little bit aggressive and intense as well, so he's missed out. Lou writes in, now JL saved punter's life vis-a-vis chest pain gear. Has the whitewashing of his shithousery now been completed, and should he be considered for Australian of the Year? I have nothing else to add other than a complete yes. A masterclass in whitewashing and sports washing his image over the last 72 hours. I'm here for it, and we're looking forward to having him at our show in Brisbane in 15 or so days' time. Matty W. writes in, now that Marnus is bouncing blokes and scoring tons for fun, will he finally get a chance to return the favour to Jofra? Wouldn't have thought so, and if you're dreaming of that, hard drives AFP. The Vagabond Papers writes in, Lyon is the most overrated bowler to ever win a baggy green. Oh, okay, so a couple 400 wickets for the Vagabond Papers as well. A couple of good players knocking around on Twitter. Best Girl writes in, well, I wonder if it is a girl. You know, I'm just having a look at the bio there, bio pic. Sometimes you just wonder who's behind that. I mean, I get very suspicious when any woman interacts with the grade cricketer, just by the sheer nature of how uninteresting our work is if you are not a woman who likes cricket. Anyway, Best Girl writes in, comment on Captain Carbon as a slander name. I like that. I actually really like that. Look, personally, I'll put my cards on the table. Okay, just to sort of set the scene here. Cards on the table. I think it's good that Pat Cummins cares about the survival of the planet from a scientific perspective. No, that might be controversial for some, and it might put me into certain political categories that therefore mean anything else I say is invalid. And if that's the case, you're not listening anymore anyway. But just from a sort of meme Reddit, assonance and kind of a, what are we saying here? Like the way that bounces around the tongue, Captain Carbon, like it's just like carbon is probably at the more elite end of words you say in and around the climate change word cloud. So I like it, but Captain Carbon, like it's some kind of evil slant on Captain Planet. It's just dumb enough to be quite funny. So I quite like that, Best Girl, just from a technical perspective. Matthew Mangan writes in, is Marnus a big boy yet? Do runs in twos count? He's not top 4 big boys. I think, no, he's not ready to be a top 4 big boy. He's made 9 test hundreds or some shit, maybe 10. I don't know if I can know. No, he's not a big boy yet. He's on the path to be a big boy. He's knocking on the door. We've said before, there's a VIP section where the big boys sit. They drink their Tanqueray, etc. And there's a velvet rope holding them off, or kind of roping them in. Marnus is at the door. He wants someone to invite him in beyond that red rope, but he's not there yet. He needs more match-winning innings in harder conditions, and he needs more eye-watering statistics against his name. He's going that way, but I still think he needs a year or two if we're serious about the big boy kind of paradigm, and we are. Okay, the Vagabond Papers wrote in again. Jared's written in, terrible chat from Carey. Look, you know, there have been people throughout history who have been able to make comments that speak to the demons in people's soul and make huge change, social change, political change, cultural change, some evil movements. And I'm afraid to say this is one of those lines that, terrible chat from Carey, that, it concerns me probably because of the skerrick of truth in it. Alex Carey, fit, teeth-based selection, good across a couple of formats, plays wicket-keeper's innings with the bat, is an impeccable character in terms of his behaviour, decent gloves behind the pegs, has done his apprenticeship to make the Australian side, by all accounts, a leader in his own right, so worthy of his position in the Test match side. And yet, there's something from keepers we need vis-a-vis the old voice there, isn't there? There's something we need. And does he have it? Does it even have the correct register? And I mean, glass houses here on that front, but I'm not wicket-keeping for Australia, am I? I'm not sure about the register, and it's very vanilla. It's very vanilla. Now, to be fair, Pete Neville lost his place in the Australian side purely on chat to Matthew Wade. They hired Wade to be a guard dog, a barking guard dog. I hope they've learnt from that. But there's still that little demon within all of us in Australia that's like, keeper. There's got to be some rasp or some gravel or some nastiness somewhere in there. I'm hoping Alex Carey's more of a Ned Flanders type. Like Ned Flanders is one of those guys. You might meet these people from time to time if you meet the boyfriend or husband of a female friend. You never want that guy to be 10 out of 10. Like a 10 out of 10 bloke. You need him to be 8 or 9 out of 10. 10 out of 10 is more like, are you hiding sex dolls in a dungeon? Because there's something wrong with everyone. And I'm just waiting for that from Alex Carey. I think we need to muddy up his image a little bit, and that will actually, paradoxically, help the Australian cricket team. So really good question. SG writes in, and we'll wrap it up shortly. As an Australian who attended day 4, is it possible to earnestly compliment the composure and steadiness of the West Indian bats without being a condescending fuckwit? If so, how? Look, it's possible to do it, but it's not possible to do it in Australia and then have your character questioned. Questions like, have you had sex? Have you felt the caress of a woman? If that's your proclivity. I'm not saying that's correct or morally right. In fact, it's not. But it is an information exchange, this show, and it would be true. So it's not possible to do it, to earnestly compliment the West Indies bats, especially if you've been out at the game. In fact, that makes things worse, given it's day 4, because that means you actually travelled out to watch the game on day 4 in person. So I apologise for the society that you live in, but that's just the truth. And you've asked me the question, and that's the answer. Sadly, I'll take one more question from T Break. Is Craig Brathwaite a monk in disguise? I'm going to say yes, and that means that I'm in the same boat as our mate before, SG. But nevertheless, and that's me conceding that I've never felt the caress of a woman. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for enduring me. Higos will be back tomorrow. This is what we do on TGC. We help each other out. He got waylaid, and I know he would do the same thing for me if that happened. But both of us will be back tomorrow to cover a rampaging and expected Australian victory. I think. Cheers.